I don't know what's wrong with this camera. Whisper. Hello, if it's filming, this is the third attempt. My name's Victoria. I'm a homeschooling mum of 4. Ow! The puppy's chewing my hand. Soon to be 5 in England. Come here. This is Jasper. This is Jasper. He's not. If you see my arm going like that, he's scragging me with a toy. I wanted to talk about something today. I have seen lots of news articles and YouTube videos about the fact that homeschooling, or home education, whichever term you prefer, in England has risen by 75%. And 75% is huge. Not that that's an exact figure, because the government don't actually know how many kids are homeschooled, do they? Yet. So first off, let's look at why there's been this huge rise in homeschooling, home education. Firstly, I think when the schools shut for lockdown, some parents who had never been given the opportunity to try home education, homeschooling before, suddenly had the opportunity, and they found that they liked it, or the child thrived from it, or you know, they had a child that was very unhappy at school, that was being bullied or whatever, and suddenly they was free of that, and they realised that there is another way. Secondly, all this messing about where schools are open one minute, they shut the next minute. Kids have to isolate one minute, the next minute they don't. If one of your kids has to isolate, their siblings still have to go to school. But if you don't take the siblings to school, they'll fine you. But if you take the kid that's meant to be isolated on the school run because you can't leave them at home on their own, then they fine you. How are you meant to navigate that, especially if you're a single parent, or a parent whose partner works a lot of hours like mine does? How it messes your employer about, because one minute your kid's in school, one minute it's not in school, one minute it's in school, one minute it's in school. Some schools making them wear face masks. Some kids at a certain age having to have COVID tests constantly. The constant threat that our nutty government will bring in no jab, no school. That's another reason. Third reason's bullying, peer pressure. Fourth reason is the fact that the schools are pushing things that aren't education, things like agendas and race and sex education. They're pushing it on our children younger and younger and younger. I've got a friend who's got 2 kids in school, one's 10, one's 5. The 5-year-old is doing sex education. They've dressed it up as relationships, but it is actually a watered down form of sex education at 5. That alone is enough to make me take my daughter out of school. It's the constant tests and attendance figures and results, which are nothing to do with the child's benefit or the child's well-being. They're all to do with Ofsted. It's schools that's now academies, which are not actually schools. They're schools which are run as businesses, where they're more bothered about saving money, making money, than they are about the actual child. It's the fact that they're taking parental rights away more and more and more. It's crazy, and it's the fact that they only have it's a one-size-fits-all education. They only have one style of learning, one pace of learning, and if your child doesn't fit into that, they're labelled stupid or a failure or whatever. It's the threat of them making the school day longer, which they keep threatening. There's lots of different reasons why home education, homeschooling is becoming more popular. Now, instead of looking at why parents are unhappy with the schools, how they can make it better so that parents want to send their kids to school, they're doing what our government loves doing, which is they're just going to penalise you instead. They've threatened this before and it didn't happen, but they're threatening it now. And if you look at all the rules that have been snuck in, or people are welcomed because of COVID, all the restrictions and taking away of your rights, and the apathy where people just are like, oh well, they know they can do it now. They're threatening to make a home education register. This worries me. I I believe any parent should have the right to home educate, homeschool if they want to, and if it benefits their child. I don't believe it's for everybody, but I believe that you've got that right as a parent. And half of me wants to say, oh, well done, parents are waking up. Let's all do this, you know, well done, welcome to the homeschool community. And the other half of me is like, no, no, no. The more people that do it, the more likely the government are going to ruin it or come and interfere. It's like New Age travellers. They only crack down on New Age travellers when a lot, you know, remember the Battle of the Beanfield? They only cracked down on New Age travellers when more and more people were doing it. They don't want free thinkers. They don't want people existing outside of their system. They don't want people living independently of the government. They don't want it. So the more people that are doing it, the more likely they are to bring a register in. One, the idea of a register offends me, because who else is on registers? Sex offenders and criminals are on registers. Why should we be on a register? Secondly, is it going to be just a register, or is it going to be a register with conditions? Like, if you don't do X, Y and Z, or if you don't cover X, Y and Z, or if the education officer just doesn't like you, they can make you put your kids in school at any point. Is it going to be like that? Or is it going to be like in certain states in America where you have to have a test every year? Things like that. It's the uncertainty that worries me, and the fact that our government seems to be more intent on controlling us anyway. Like, how far are they going to take it? Is it just going to be a register, or is it going to be a register with other things attached? It really worries me and concerns me. And at least I was thinking, like France are banning homeschooling and making it illegal. Now, it didn't just start with that. It started off with a register and regulations and making it more and more difficult and building up to banning it. Is that what's going to happen? And it worries me because my 10-year-old would not do well in school. And one, I was thinking, thank God he's 10, because even if he was forced to go to school tomorrow, he's had 10, nearly 11 years of freedom. He's had 10, nearly 11 years of free thinking and following his interests and enjoying his life and doing what he needs to do, what he wants to do. So even if he was shoved in school tomorrow, he's had a good decade of knowing how things are meant to be, in my book. Just being himself without being bullied or having his dyslexia shoved in his face or whatever. Having no tests, no milestones that he's going to be penalised for not meeting, things like that. I've had 10 years of him at home as well, as a close family unit. But I was thinking, my daughter, Pinky's 3. If she was made to go to school tomorrow, she won't remember what it was like to be homeschooled. That worries me. So I'm getting all what's this because I'm pregnant. I cry at everything. Everything. So, I'm just saying that it's a double-edged sword. Some people are going to say, oh, it's such an amazing thing that homeschooling's on the rise. But is it? Because when you're a minority, when it's a few hippies in a field, which homeschooling probably was in like the 60s or whatever, massive generalisation there, the government leaves you, Big Brother, the government leaves you alone. But when it starts to become a thing, that's when they start interfering, and I'm concerned. I'm hoping my concerns are unfounded. You'd think they'd have bigger things to deal with in the world right now, wouldn't you? But then again, look at all the other stupid rules they're bringing in, like if you criticise the government, you could have 14 years in prison, or they're trying to make wolf whistling illegal. I just wanted to say that because it's on my mind this morning. What are you doing? You're chewing a toy now. Yeah. So let me know, do you think there's a reason to be concerned, or do you think it's something to celebrate, or do you think the government might make plans to what have you, but they'll get sidetracked like they did last time. And you can bet your boots, if it happens to register, there'll be the minimal opposition to it. Because of all the people are bloody apathy. People are just like, oh well, the government says we should do this, so we do it. And there'll be a few strong voices protesting against it, but you know they're just going to pass it and it'll happen if they decide to do it. And what they'll do is they'll use the protection angle. Like they can get any law they want through if they make you think it's for your own safety. They'll use the radicalisation angle, or you know, some kids are being at a homeschool because they're being abused or they're being radicalised. So it's for the good of the few children who aren't benefiting from it. It's for your protection. It's for your children's protection, which is what they always say to stop you questioning things. And people go, oh, okay then, yeah. Honestly, it's like this so-called, this is COVID I'm on about now, not homeschooling, but it's like this so-called Freedom Day where they've removed a lot of restrictions. Some people are still following the restrictions even though they've been removed because they want them. It's like, what are you doing? I'm going to go now before I get on a totally different tangent. Oh! What are you growling at? Buddy's pillow. The pretty dog. Always in a nippy mood. I better play with him. So let me know what you think anyway. Are you concerned or do you think it's a good thing? I better get dressed as well.